Okay, and we are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Global Citizens. My name is
Mhm.
Calvin. I'm the show's creator and host. So, for those of you who just tuned in to the show for the very first time, Global Citizens is a show whereby I hosted third culture kids, digital nomads or global nomads, and
Mhm.
expatriates in order to share their experience living and working in a country abroad. Because when you are in a new country,
Mhm.
you have to learn their different ethics and custom. When you are there, maybe as a holiday for holidays as a visitor, of course, naturally you will just have to enjoy the visitor spot, the tourist attraction. But when you are there to work, or maybe if you want to expand your business to the country, there's no way you can just do it and then you expected to do it the same way as you had started. Now, my guest for today is an amazing individual. She, well, okay, she is currently pursuing her master's degree in Pepperdine University in Los Angeles. And along with that, she is actually conducting a study for TCKs, especially in terms of mental health within the digital media and technology. And she's a TEDx speaker. So please welcome Ms. Cristine Chen. Hi, Christine.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure
All
to be here. Thank you, Calvin.
You're most welcome. All right, Christine, I hope I have mentioned enough of your resume, but maybe you want to elaborate a little bit more?
No, that's wonderful, definitely. So, I'm currently doing psychology, and my main passion is for you guys, for third culture kids, because I am one as well. It's for people who are struggling with their identities. When you're traveling around, you're just like, who in the world am I? So that and my other passion is in digital media and how it affects our mental health. So if you're an Instagram or Facebook user, I'm sure you're impacted by this, right? Like how is our attention span changing? How's our mental health changing? So yeah, that's me. Prior to this, I was in business.
All right. She's just being modest. There's definitely a lot more to that. All right.
Wow, that's
So, Christine, I'm going to ask you something that we TCK would have heard a lot of time, and no matter how many times we heard it, we will hate it.
mm,
How would you define the term home, and
oh
what
my goodness.
composes your anchor? Because, as in, what keeps you grounded? What makes you still realize this is me?
Wow, you know what, Calvin? I'll never get tired of this question.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you encounter this all the time, right? So I
Uh,
grappled with it. Yeah, yeah. I can see your face. You're just like, yep.
yeah.
Yeah, so for me, like if you asked me this 10 years ago, I would give you a location. So if you're TCK, let's say you'll say you're in Japan or you're in France, you're in the US. But I would say today, like my anchor is my habits.
Okay. Habits, as in.
Home, home is habits. What do I
Okay.
mean by that? It's the routines that you sustain wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's the places that you frequent everywhere you go. So for some people, it's coffee shops. For me personally, it's coffee shops as well. Home is coffee shops. Home is wherever I have my books. Home is wherever I can run. Home is the smell of coffee beans. So that is home for me. That's my anchor. Yeah.
So your anchor is, I quote, coffee bean.
It's coffee beans. No, seriously.
Oh my
But
God.
my anchor is my habits, right? So wherever I go, I have like morning rituals that I sustain wherever I go. So
Sure.
that for me is home.
Okay. So take note, everybody. Coffee bean is a
Coffee beans.
fantastic anchor. All right. All right. Okay, Christine. Maybe can you elaborate a little bit more of the countries that you have actually lived in, and also, right, how do you feel is the importance of an intercultural working environment and today's society? And as a TCK yourself, how would you manage it with regards to cultural ethics and characters of the different people within a certain setting?
Okay, so that's a lot of. I'll break it down and
Sure.
let me know if I missed anything. So cultural wise, so it's the Philippines, Taiwan, France, China, and the United States. And
Okay.
I've traveled to over 125 cities, four continents, and 26 countries. So yeah,
You are
so
short
that's
of
my background.
70 more to have visited every single country within United Nations Charter.
No, no, Calvin, you'll beat me at it at this pace. I'm just a researcher now, but yeah, but that's my background. So going back, intercultural definitely with the so this ties to my passion for technology, right?
Okay.
The world is not only increasingly global and multicultural, it's also becoming more and more interconnected. So you can have your engineer in India, it's such a stereotype. Yeah, you can have your chief marketer in India. You can have your CEO in Silicon Valley. You can have your
Technically, that's a
HR.
stereotype also, since the CEO of Google is. Okay,
I
never
know.
mind.
And then we can have your CFO in Singapore, chief.
Uh, Fun fact:
No.
Christine used to work for Google, by the way.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, going back, definitely intercultural like values and how you thrive as a TCK third culture kid or a traveler or nomad, you are such a valuable asset. You know why? Because with the way technology is moving, it's literally leaning towards your advantage. This is your time to shine. You know how to talk to people from Indonesia, from Singapore. You can communicate through Slack and Messenger like you're talking. This is your time. And that's why I say, like, the world is moving towards technology, it's moving towards globalization. And thus, the skills that you have and that you will develop, that's incredible. Yeah.
Mhm. All right. Okay. So, with regards to this here, Christine. Okay, how would a first-time TCK would ingratiate themselves to their new host country faster? Because when you are visiting, when you are maybe as an expatriate, when you come to the new country, you already know who you are because
Mm-hmm.
you're an adult. You have
Mm-hmm.
already developed a certain identity from your own home country. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
after 10 to 20 years, if you live in that country, then you develop a certain change in your perspective. But
Mm-hmm.
as a young TCK, you don't even know who you are. Heck, and just to be and just to be a little bit more elaborate, you don't even know. You haven't even hit your puberty yet, and now you don't even know who you are now. So, with regards to that, how could a younger TCK ingratiate themselves better into a new country?
You have such a kind heart for asking this. I hope you realize because you're absolutely correct. I mean, moving to a new country is so scary. And, you know, as a young kid, your brain, okay, coming from psychology, is not yet formed. So you walk into this foreign land that looks like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for you. It's like, oh my goodness, what the heck is this? What's happening, right? And if you're going back to your parents' home culture, you're looking at Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but everyone's telling you that this is your home, but you don't feel like home. So what do? The first thing that I will advise, if I may, is to pause. Instead, to pause. That's the most
Okay.
important word you can have. Instead of running into this new place like, oh my God, yeah, let's go, let's go, let's go. As a young boy, as a young girl, stop for a bit and question your environment. What is different, right? Who am
Yep.
I? Who are the people I can trust,
Yep.
right? So first thing first, pause. I know you're probably overstimulated, but
Absolutely.
being able to stop and to canvas the environment, you're like a lion basically entering a new forest. Imagine you're an animal, whatever your favorite animal is. You're entering a new forest, you're going to first canvas the place.
Yep.
Second is to talk to locals as much as you can, but not
Absolutely.
from a place of, oh my God, I'm better, or oh my God, back home, this is what's different. We are in a new forest right now,
Yep.
so talk to them. What are the rules of this place, right? What
Yep.
are the
Absolutely.
food in this place? Get to know the territory because just like an animal, if you're not careful, you're going to be eaten. So strategize well. Yeah.
All right. Okay. With regards to my earlier question, I will actually ask you to spin off two routes from that. Yeah. So first off is this. So there's actually multiple Facebook community group that actually hosted TCKs. So
Mhm.
earlier there was actually a recent unfortunate misunderstanding. So there was a young man who
Mhm.
I think he's just a little bit too excited. So he is actually the
Mm.
son of an ambassador. He's going to go to a new country soon. So, and I quote, yeah, when he was actually asking of the new country. So his message was actually when he was asking to the group, what is it about? He highlighted that he will be of the additional perks that he will be getting in the new country, such as servants, drivers, and any other things that would be granted because he is now a son of a diplomat. How would you actually advise this young fella to actually ingratiate himself better? Because Japan is a highly conservative country that values respect and humility. And if he's if he emphasized this area, well, as what you said, you're gonna get eaten.
Calvin, absolutely. You nailed it. I mean, the culture of Japan is so different from wherever this young boy comes from, right? Japan is
Yeah,
all about humility, it's all about collectivism, it's all about harmony. So, the same advice that I would give is first of all, I know you're very excited to be in this new wonderful location with the aforementioned benefits. Um, but be careful because my question for you is how can you last in this environment? What are the skills that you need to be having? Who is the person that you need to be? So, my advice would be read more about the culture that you're entering. So, if it's Japan, learn more about the cultural ethics. Number two, silence is more powerful than noise. What
mm,
do I mean? In a new place, being silent and observing will make you put you in a safer position than if you blabber about what you have in all the
absolutely.
places that you go to. Let's say China. China is the most like bragging country I've ever lived in. It's like it's so flashy. Everyone's in Louis Vuitton and Ferraris. I mean, come on. But even in places like that, silence beats noise. If you want to survive in a new place, silence, the ability to listen, the ability to ask questions will get you farther than bragging about what you have. I know you
Absolutely.
can go into a new country and feel very insecure, right? Of
Yep.
course, like it's a new place, so you want to show off like all your servants and drivers, whatever you will get. But remember, the key here is not about bragging. It's about how will you thrive in your new country.
Absolutely.
So going back, silence over noise. Always remember, listen before you talk. That's it.
That's a fantastic advice.
Thank
So
you.
the advice I actually give to this young man is also to actually know when to say the right words. It's because if he had
Correct.
used a much
Absolutely.
more formal tonality, maybe he would just say, "Hi everyone, I'm moving into this new country here." He can highlight he's the son of an ambassador. It's okay also because I think it will just give people a lot more advice to him, give a lot more advice to him because, well, if you mess up in that new country, you not only embarrass yourself, you embarrass your home country, you embarrass your father who is working there as a
Hmm.
government representative. So you're gonna be in a lot of mess if you do not know how to behave properly.
Definitely. And if I may add to that,
Yep.
I know all of the things we're telling you to him, it
Yeah.
may sound like we're your nagging parents, but
Yeah.
really, we're more protecting, right? And you can explore, definitely. Again, going back to the jungle, be safe first before you explore. So I
Absolutely.
think that's where we're getting at. That's what Calvin and I are getting at. Be safe first. Instead of talking about the perks and everything, first canvas the environment. And of course, enjoy the new culture when you're used to it. You may ask how long, 1 week, 2 weeks, a month for you to adapt. But after that, feel free to explore such a beautiful culture. Open your heart to learning, asking questions. It's a fun time for you. So, yeah.
Mhm. All right. Okay, so the next part of the question is from the question before this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually not a psychology major.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea why I graduated with with a degree in a notary public. So, however, I love to read about this kind of stuff once in a while. More of
Mm-hmm.
watching because I'm more of an auditory learner. So
Mm-hmm.
so one of the thing I've ever read before is that before the age of 26, most of us our prefrontal cortex is not yet developed. So we tend to make the decision based on what is fun instead of the right decision. So Christine, do you think this has been affected with digitalization and how our generation revolve around social media? Because now it's like if I think you would see a lot of news is that when you get more likes on social media, it seems to be worth more than having money. In fact, Simon Sinek actually has stated that the likes of your on your social media is as much as a dopamine as that of a drug. Is that something that is how would you address that, Christine?
So I could talk 24 hours about this with you. It's very complex, you know. But first of all, let me address the brain stuff first, and then we'll go
Sure.
to your question of what are my thoughts on the rise of technology. So first, our brain, our prefrontal cortex actually does develop during our teenage and 20s, 30s. It's constantly developing and it keeps changing because neuroplasticity, right? Our
Okay.
brains will always change. What's different, what you're talking about, like fun and everything, is
Yeah.
because in our teenage years, so if you're a teenage traveler, you'll notice like you're not afraid of dying at all. You just like drink until 5 a.m. You're just like, let's go. It's because your amygdala, your limbic system, is
Yep.
basically an overdrive. Like you
Okay.
don't feel fear. It's biological.
Okay.
So next, going back to technology, you're correct. It's a dopamine hit. Um, our technology shapes us. You can say that, okay, I can choose my content. But unfortunately, I have to tell you, technology is not a content game.
Okay.
It's an algorithm game.
All right.
Whatever you see is based on the algorithm's optimization. So my thoughts on it is to be aware of how you're using technology. And if you want to experiment on yourself, if you're having fun, is you can actually try a 1 week detox and see how you feel. And that will give you an insight of how technology is impacting you. Because how you use internet, Calvin, and how I use internet is very different.
Okay.
Everyone has a different dose, and personality comes into it too. You know, there's a study that says people with higher BMI actually use Facebook more.
Okay.
So there's personality too, and how you control your attention and everything. So my thoughts on it is know yourself, experiment, and see what makes you feel good.
Mm. All right. Can I? Okay, I want to add something a little bit more on that also because this is from my own personal experience. So I used
Mm-hmm.
to work as a manager in a public speaking school. A lot of the kids that we had actually signed at that time, I have no idea why my former employer liked to make us into a salesperson, but that's his job. So one of the things that my trainer actually has observed is a lot of the kids have autism, and one of the factor that he mentioned is because the younger generation's exposure to technology is a lot higher as compared to our generation. Wow, I make it sound so old, but yeah. But a lot of these kids are actually brilliant, but the thing is they really they do not have social skill. They don't even dare to look at other people in their eyes whenever they are greeting somebody. So Christine, how would you advise to control technology in the present
Okay.
era? Because
Oh
yeah.
my God. Your questions are just like loaded. It's
Sorry about that.
okay. So your manager is absolutely correct. In fact, I'll share with you a story. In Japan, there's this term called, I think it's hikikomori.
Okay.
where it's basically people are just staying at home and not leaving home.
Oh,
There's
okay.
my best friend here in LA. She's a psychologist back in Japan, and she had a client who never left home for 30 years.
What?
she's, she's, I know, it's ridiculous. And she had to like pull him out and teach him how to be human. And it's not just that, man. Kids today, like what you said, I was also shocked. Uh, they don't know how to be human again. And so, point is, how do we address this? Is there are many ways. First, from a psychology perspective, group therapy definitely works if you're a parent. Group therapy, they were able to reduce like addiction from 96% to 4% in Mongolia. Group therapy is very, very effective. Another way is everything starts from the family.
Okay. Yeah, that is.
Technology addiction is about relationships gone wrong in person. So how can you create and cultivate communities? There's no one answer. It's a collective collaboration. How can you create public spaces? How can you create, maybe football fields, community events for people to come together and thrive offline?
Yeah.
Online communication is wonderful, but offline is equally as wonderful. And what I'm scared of is we're losing the offline. So that is where the creatives come in, the artists, the musicians, the
Yep.
theater actresses, psychologists, public speakers, you, right? How can we create a space that will allow people to go outdoors and make friends?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Okay. With regards to your area on to your what you mentioned on creativity, yeah. So there, I think there was at least three of my past guests who are of Asian descent, but they grow up in a Western country. So I think the very first time I've ever started it, I think it was my episode 3. I make a joke is that not all of us Asians ended up as doctors, lawyers, or engineers. So one of my past guests, Ms. Lily Wu, lovely lady. She is actually her parents are actually artists, so she has the fortunate distinction of escaping the typical stereotype Asian mindset. So with regards to this, how could you encourage the creativity instead? Because I think not
Wow.
from when we were young to when we are adulthood, we don't like to be forced what to do. So how can we encourage that creativity wise? Oh, there are some new viewers. Hello, how are you guys?
Hi. Oh my goodness. How do we instill creativity in kids? The answer is there needs to be a collaboration
Okay.
between the family, the school,
Yes.
and the creative teachers. So how can we create the collaborative effort? Because you can teach creativity in schools, but if you go home and your mom is telling you to do 200 pages of math, I mean, come on, like how even if your teacher, let's say teacher Lily, is making you do like amazing things in school, you go home and you're faced with that. You're just like, what in the world? Right. So there needs to be, again, I go back, a cultural shift
Yep.
of how we view art, how we view creativity, and most importantly, we have to start making artists earn money so Asian parents can see that it's actually a real career because they have to speak their language, man. I mean, my father is Asian and he always puts a price tag on everything. How much is this going to make you? I'm
Yeah.
sure you can relate. So
Yeah.
if you can, actually, it's a good strategy. If you can tell your mom or your father, you know, this painter, this musician was able to thrive because of this. But of course, uh, keeping you, there's
Yeah.
24 hours a day. Even if there's 20 minutes of creativity, that's enough. And when you get the chance to get out, get out.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that I think is actually how actually technology nowadays can actually benefit. It's because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people actually can make money out of YouTube, and in
Yeah.
fact, social media sites has been able to give. It doesn't give you direct money, but it gives you the exposure to be able to have a voice to say what your opinions
Definitely.
are. And I think there was a young lady called Greta Thurber. I can't recall her name.
Yeah.
Greta Thurber. Yeah, she became a social media hit because of her environmentalist mindset. So I think
Hmm.
it will definitely benefit her a long way in the future, maybe. But for now, it's not going to give her a direct income, but it's definitely something that gives her enough exposure.
Hmm. Definitely. And the
Yeah,
thing is, Calvin, you hit it when you said Asia.
yeah,
All of these things will work in the West,
yeah,
but if your parents are, yeah, this is something that I'm still struggling to come up with an answer for. How do we set boundaries in a Confucianist society? How
yeah.
do you set boundaries with parents who sacrifice so much for you,
Yes.
and keeps rubbing it on your face, right? So there's
Yeah.
guilt. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a question that we get to explore together,
I
and
have
of
two
course,
hours worth of I have 2 hours worth of arguments with my dad for that.
and it's hard. It's hard, especially if you're financially strapped with your
Yep.
father. It's hard, and there's no denying it, and that's why, like, really, as an individual, I would encourage you to build the skill sets that you need
Yep.
to be independent. Build valuable skills.
Mm. All right. Okay. So okay. Now then, I think I might let me change it to something which is a little bit easier for you because a lot of my questions seems it is loaded, but I feel
Go
that
for it.
go for it. Yeah. All right. Okay. So with regards to yourself, right? With regards to the countries that you've lived and worked in, what characters and mindsets have you developed? And for your and also how have you have maintained a healthy relationship with your family and your significant others? And I ask this is because if you look
Mm-hmm.
at a lot of TCK pages, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them have either been in a failed or in a bad relationship. It's because due to what one of my past guests, Mr. Pablo, has mentioned, is we develop something called the global vision because we don't see the world as up and down. We see it up, down, left, right, square, any kind of direction. Because of our exposure to the different countries, develop a different method of viewing. For yourself, how have you have actually maintained a healthy relationship then with your family members or your partner, etc.?
Okay. First, it took time to get to a place where you're okay with being misunderstood. I think that's the biggest lesson I learned. You
Yes,
can't please everyone.
absolutely.
You just can't, because your experiences are uniquely you.
Yes,
How you view the world is different from your partner, it's different from your parents. Those lonely nights at the airport, that's uniquely yours.
yeah,
And people will not get that, and it's okay. So, how I dealt with my relationships is a Buddhist mindset, and that is the real ones stay, right? You do your best to
oh,
maintain,
I've never heard of that. Okay, that's
yeah,
new.
the real ones stay, and the rest that leave, let them go.
Absolutely.
And I say that because I'm not saying this is correct or if it's wrong. I'm
Yep.
saying this is because this is what helped me have peace. I don't mind if it's wrong. Some people will say, like, no, you have to contact your dad like 20 times a day. But for
Mm,
me, like, my dad is my dad. I know. I know.
yeah,
No. And if he doesn't get it, this is the way I love. But you have to be able to deal with it,
yeah,
right? And the right partner will be able to understand. At the same time, I think what's really important is knowing, let's say you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, it's your partner's love language. and give as much as you can to that. So if that person, so it's Gary Chapman, love languages. So if your partner loves words of affirmation, I can send it to you so you can link it. Uh, give that to them, right? Love the way the person wants to be loved, but be okay with letting go too. So I think that's what's really helped me maintain my global relationships. I have friends just like you from all around the world with different time zones. I don't talk to them every day. They don't talk to me every day, and we're fine with that. And the real ones stay. If you can't handle it, okay, you're not a real friend. Let's go. Take it easy.
All right, everybody. So
Mhm.
here, Christine's word is something that I actually really agree in. Of course,
Mhm.
although being a Buddhist, I've never really heard that. Maybe it's because I just don't explore it as often.
Mhm.
But it is true. I think also to maybe to add on to what Christine said is actually to okay, it actually goes to one of my previous advice is actually find yourself, then be yourself. It's because
Mhm.
a lot of people requires maybe a lot of people requires a lot of companionship as a sense of self-affirmation. So you have to find a way to actually love yourself. That in order to accept whether something has moved on or something that, as what Christine stays, those who will stay, they will stay with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mhm.
All right. Let's see. Now, this is actually going to be the last question.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, there's somebody who commented. Oh, it's Miss Sonia Anita. So Sonia is actually a speaking trainer here in Indonesia. She's a friend of mine. So hello, Sonia. How are you? All right. So my last advice is actually sorry, my last not advice. My last question is going to be what three advice would you want to give
Oh,
to college students who's about to enter the real world? And along with that, what are your point of view of global citizens, the TCK, nomads, and expatriates, etc., that coincided with the millennial and post-millennial generation? How do you see the global citizens to be able to lead, or in fact to assist these generations?
okay. So can I answer the global one first because I'm like
Absolutely.
excited.
Yeah.
Again, as I mentioned, it's a good wrap up from the beginning. Is you have such an amazing brain and ability to empathize, to ask questions, to be curious. Hi, Sonia. Good morning. And so, and so, moving forward, TCK is your identity, but don't let yourself be a victim of it. I know sometimes it's easy to be like, oh, I'm a third culture kid. That's why I don't get this. I don't get that. No, own it. You know, it's a part of you, but it's not all of you. You're a TCK. You're also a mother. You're a daughter. You're a painter. You're an entrepreneur. And embrace everything. But if there's one thing you get to embrace from the culture of TCKs is the mindset of curiosity. Moving forward, continue being curious about the world, and you will meet so many mentors who will be willing to help you because you're such an open book.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So again, the three
Just
advice.
to add on to that, for those of you who tune in for the very first time, yeah, out of all my 16 episodes, including Christine, I think four people are actually the one who I know personally to have come to the show. The rest of whom I actually have the first or second time encounter before they actually come to this show. That actually does help being allowing myself to be more open-minded to accept
Mhm.
more risks to just ask, "Hi, would you like to come to my show?"
Definitely. And that is your skill in everything. You can take it to sales, you can take it to marketing, that ability to just test and fail and ask. So powerful. And so the three answers,
Yeah.
fresh out. Number one is oh, accept that you're going to evolve. That's number one. Accept that you're going to evolve. Fresh out. I know it's scary. You're just like this first job. It's my first job. Let's go. But no, life is beautiful because you'll meet a lot of new things. So accept that you're going to evolve and it's okay. Number two, self compassion.
Absolutely.
You're going to face a lot of hurdles. You're going to have to move to places you don't want to be in. And sometimes you blame yourself. Self compassion, the ability to love yourself at the end of the day, will carry you far
Absolutely.
because you're your best cheerleader. Always remember that it's not your boss, it's not your parents, it's yourself. Always remember. And lastly, build, this is more practical, build valuable skill sets.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. That's actually my last question for the day. Oh, Sonia, there's another comment. It's from Sonia. Oh, okay. Hi, Sonia. How are you? All right. Okay. So that's actually to wrap up my entire
Mm-hmm.
questions. Yeah. So for me is I don't really have anything more to say. Maybe if you can actually, if you guys are interested to actually explore like what I'm doing now as a podcast, you guys can check into StreamYard. This is the software that I'm using to host this channel. The link is in the description box. Christine, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, thank you so much, Calvin, for creating this platform. And I'm releasing something very exciting with your beloved Calvin on it next year. So it's all on my website. I have a newsletter as well. And so, yeah, hope
All
to
right.
connect.
Okay, so guys, please look forward to Christine's upcoming work. Yeah, so once it's out, I will also be posting it in my social media, in both my personal page and
Mhm.
my Global Citizens page. Oh, just
Thank
to let you
you.
guys know, there's actually some people who ask me why do I change the show's title. In a sense, it's just a slight tweak. It's actually a simple reason. There's actually a social group calling itself Global Citizens. So I did not know about that. I'm not trying to start any kind of argument. The reason being is that global citizens is actually a term we TCK like to call ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did not know that there's such a social group, and I think after the 13th episode also, then I realized, oh my goodness, I did not know that. So I add a slight tweak to it also by
Mm-hmm.
putting my initial as the part of the citizens. I think it's also my own personal branding.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's to address your question. And with that, that's the end of Global Citizens, episode 16. Thank you so much, Christine, Sonia,
Pleasure.
and those who view in today. Enjoy the rest of your day. For Christine's case, is have a good rest of the evening because
Mm-hmm.
it's actually 6 p.m. on her time.
Yeah.
All right.